Hey Commanders fans, get ready because today we have exclusive news about our team and you can't miss a single detail. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, activate the bell to receive everything firsthand, and of course, leave a like to strengthen our fan base and show that we only have true fans here. Our commitment is to always bring you the latest updates, news, and everything that happens behind the scenes of Commanders. So, without further ado, let's check out today's news. A Commanders analyst vehemently attacks Terry McLaurin in a brutal rant. The search for culprits began long before the Washington Commanders' disastrous season came to a merciful end. Nearly every player, coach, and influential executive has been the target of harsh criticism from the media and fans, only increasing the pressure for the crucial upcoming season. This is typically what happens when an NFL team fails to live up to expectations. The Commanders won 5 games after reaching the 2024 NFC Championship game. This doesn't happen without collective disappointment, but that didn't stop one team analyst from launching a scathing attack on wide receiver Terry McLaurin. McLaurin spent the summer embroiled in a contract dispute with the Commanders. He opted out of workouts, which hampered his preparation. He eventually secured a contract extension, but only when the value was reduced, and only when the value satisfied General Manager Adam Peters. A Commanders analyst harshly criticizes Terry McLaurin for his approach to the contract impasse. What followed was an unstable start to the season, followed by a frustrating quadriceps/hip flexor injury from which McLaurin only recovered too late. Ivan Lambert of USA Today Sports harshly criticized the player, stating that he was out of touch with reality, and the Commanders paid a high price for it. He, Terry McLaurin, was completely out of touch with reality, asked for an exorbitant salary, and then called a press conference to make the Commanders look like the villains. He was refusing to play, then refusing to play, and as a result, he wasn't ready for the season, finishing with only 38 receptions and 3 touchdowns. That's a bit extreme. Players get injured all the time, so sitting out training camp probably wouldn't have changed anything. At the same time, if McLaurin and Peters could come back, they probably would have done things differently. Peters has already stated his intention to learn from this saga going forward, especially with 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil seeking a contract extension early this offseason, which could potentially redefine the market. Delaying the inevitable is not an option, not when there's so much at stake for the Commanders in 2026. McLaurin was probably getting bad advice. It happens, and his representatives eventually gave in. But that doesn't matter anymore. The Commanders are watching the clock closely regarding Brian Flores, and the door is still open. Brian Mitchell believes the Commanders are right to wait. The Washington Commanders are taking a cautious approach in their search for their next defensive coordinator. This has inevitably led to speculation that head coach Dan Quinn is eyeing someone who may still be in the process of selecting the new head coach. Quinn has ties to Raheem Morris, who remains in contention for the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job. Among the more ambitious names is Brian Flores, who was interviewed by the Commanders before his talks with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens for the head coaching position. Flores listened attentively to Quinn. He also has ties to General Manager Adam Peters from their time working together with the New England Patriots. For the Commanders, it remains to be seen, and the Minnesota Vikings are quite confident in keeping him as defensive coordinator should he not get a second chance at a leadership position. Brian Mitchell wants the Commanders to hold firm until Brian Flores' future becomes clear. However, a legend of the team believes that if there's even the slightest chance of securing Flores' services, the Commanders need to stay the course. Brian Mitchell, a former NFL football player who played as a kick returner and is now a co-host for radio station 106.7 The Fan, believes the Commanders should consider other options if Flores has indicated he won't be coming. But otherwise, Washington needs to move heaven and earth to get him on the team, however unlikely that may be. The question I'm asking is this: Brian Flores didn't say he's going back to Minnesota, right? Nothing has been announced about it. And I think if you still think you have a chance to hire him, you wait. If he were out of the question, then you'd have to go after the next best available. The odds might not be very good right now, but if he hasn't signed with Minnesota yet, you'd have to make the offer very lucrative or more attractive. Assistant head coach, a little more speculation, you know what I mean? There's a chance. The Commanders' search for a defensive coordinator continues. Is Brian Flores the answer? That's what you call aiming for the stars. But considering how much is at stake for Quinn in his third season in Washington, this could be the bold move that finally helps the defense take off. Giving Flores total control of the defense and decision-making power on all strategic issues as an assistant head coach would be a great starting point. Allowing him to shape the defense with strong influence on player selection is another. After that, Washington Commanders could make a big trade for a defender valued at $106 million. The Washington Commanders enter the upcoming season under immense pressure and with a clear need for significant roster changes. After an extremely promising 2024 campaign, when the team finished the regular season with a 12-5 record and reached the NFC Championship game, the expectation was for consolidation as a force in the conference. However, the reality in 2025 was quite different. Washington suffered a sharp decline in performance and finished the season with only 5 wins. Much of this setback can be attributed to a series of injuries that affected key offensive players, compromising offensive consistency and putting even more pressure on the defense. As a direct consequence of this disappointing season, management decided to make drastic changes to the coaching staff, releasing both offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury and defensive coordinator Joe Witt. These decisions make it clear that Dan Quinn is entering next year in virtually all-or-nothing mode. If the results don't materialize, the coach himself could be in trouble. Given this scenario, reinforcing the defense with a big name emerges as one of the main strategies to get the Commanders back on the path to the playoffs. According to Alex Ballantyne of Bleacher Report, Washington is a strong candidate to make a major trade for star pass rusher Max Crosby, currently with the Las Vegas Raiders. Ballantyne points out that not all teams can absorb Crosby's hefty contract, valued at around $106 million, in addition to offering attractive compensation and draft picks. In this aspect, the franchise is in a privileged position. The franchise has approximately $89.8 million in salary cap space and also has a potentially top 10 pick in the next draft, something extremely valuable to convince the Raiders to trade. Furthermore, there is internal expectation of a major recovery in 2026, especially with Jaden Daniels healthy and surrounded by better offensive conditions. For Dan Quinn, the arrival of a player like Crosby would finally mean having an elite pass rusher to lead the defense, something the team clearly has lacked in recent seasons. Max Crosby is widely recognized as one of the best quarterback pressurers in the NFL. He surpassed the 10-sack mark in 3 of the last 4 seasons, most notably in 2023, when he recorded an impressive 14.5 sacks. In contrast, Washington's defense underperformed in 2025, finishing only the 24th in the league in quarterback pressure rate.